launching downfield, underthrown and intercepted. Keely Ringo has an escort down the sidelines.
Heartbreak, longing, despair, letdown, choke.
These are words Atlanta sports fans are all too used to hearing.
Until now.
Dansby throws to first base. Is this happening?
No more negative expectations. No more playing the victim. No more fair weather freeloaders. No more.
38-yard field goal by Morton Anderson. The hold, the kick, it's on the way, it's up and good. The Falcons are going to the Super Bowl. The Falcons are going to the Super Bowl.
From the Mesmereyes Studios in Woodstock, Georgia, Bleav Entertainment proudly presents Bleav in Atlanta Sports with your hosts, Robert Taylor and the Commissioner, Mark Rich.
Hello, Atlanta sports fans, and welcome to this, the very first installment, the first episode of Bleav in Atlanta Sports, brought to you by the Bleav Podcast Network out in Los Angeles, California. My name is, once again, Robert Taylor. This is over here. This is the Commissioner, Mark Rich, and we have Tim Cahill. Don't hold it against him. He's from Chicago, but he is the one of the founders and the CEOs of Mesmereyes Studios here in Woodstock, Georgia, who's very graciously allowing us to do this podcast. And this is our teaser episode. This is kind of us saying, hello, Atlanta. Here we are. We're here, and we're ready to turn the sports world on its ear. But first, we got to do a little housekeeping. I just really want to say right now to thank you to Bleav, Bron Houston Stam. I hope I didn't get his name wrong. Jenna Duddleston, our producer. Raymond Rubiclava, he's a sound guy who helped us do the intro. Carter, and just so gracious to have the opportunity to be here and do this. And we hope you like us. We hope you love us. It's kind of like the first day of school, Mark. When you wonder, do I have all the right clothes on?
I literally do have all the right clothes on. I dressed for the first day of school.
It's like, am I going to get in a fight? Am I going to pop wood in my gym shorts in front of everybody? It's exciting and it's fun. And Tim, I'm just going to come over to you and say thanks for believing in us, no pun intended, and allowing us to come in here and set up this studio. But tell everybody kind of who you are and what you guys do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. First off, it's our pleasure. My partner and I, Jared, and I, we own Mesmereyes Media. We've got two studios. We've got a smaller studio here in Woodstock, where we're at right now, downtown Woodstock, which is absolutely awesome place to be. And then we have a much bigger studio in Marietta, shortly or right off of 41. And we do a lot of marketing, training, video, content, photography, and podcasting. So that's what we do. We're here to help support you guys get the show off the ground and get it going. But I'm looking forward to it, man. It's just hearing what you guys are talking about so far and stuff. You guys got some great stuff.
It should be really exciting. And I guess kind of people may be wondering now, like, what are we doing here? Why are you doing this? And it kind of all started a long time ago. Mark and I met at an Outback Steakhouse in Roswell, Georgia, a long time ago.
Let's not talk about it.
Let's put it this way. Mark has a son, and he was just starting to walk, and now he's a grown-ass man. I mean, beard and everything.
21 in December.
So we found out we really like sports a lot and found ourselves talking about a lot. And then Mark kind of went his way for a while. I kind of went mine. And then, kind of things kind of came back around. I actually moved away for a while. Came back to the Atlanta area, kind of reconnected. We would meet up for cocktails every once in a while and just talk about Georgia and the Braves and this and that. And then, probably 2-3 years ago now, we decided that we were pretty fed up with the whole Atlanta sports format. We thought it was pretty tired, pretty old, and they just kept shuffling around the same old host. It's kind of like they rotated between stations, and a lot of them weren't even from here. They weren't emotionally invested in it. And what people say, they say put up or shut up. So this is us putting up saying, we're kind of here to flip the script on kind of the narrative that is Atlanta sports. You heard it in our intro, fair weather freeloaders, Braves, Hawks, all those fans come out of the woodworks when the teams are doing well, but when they're doing bad, it's like Homer when he goes back into the bushes. You see it on the internet.
100%.
So that's who we are. That's what we do. I'm from here. Was born in Atlanta, raised in Atlanta. Moved out to a little town called Monroe, Georgia. You probably never heard of it. Mark, don't hold it against him, but he was originally born in Connecticut. But what did you move here when you were like 2?
I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina when I was 6, down to South Florida after that till I was about 13, and then my dad worked for Home Depot, so it moved us back to the Atlanta area. I went to high school, finished high school in Savannah, and then went to the University of Georgia, and I've been here ever since, so...
I forgot you were down in Savannah for a while. I'm University of Georgia as well. Tim, you're from the Chicago area.
Yeah, originally from Chicago area. Don't hold it against me, but I've been here for 22 and a half years. My wife and I got married in 98, moved down here January 3rd of 2000, haven't looked back. And, it's funny because, you say you're from Chicago. Before I ever moved down here, I'm a huge baseball fan. Baseball is my favorite sport. I've got 3 boys that have played. And I was a Braves fan. The one thing that's super cool is when you look at it, the 2 teams that have one of the biggest, widest fan bases are Chicago Cubs and Atlanta Braves, because back in the day before streaming and satellite TV and all that stuff, you had 13 channels. You could, if you didn't have a team near you, you could watch WTBS, watch the Braves, or you could watch WGN, watch the Cubs. And the other cool thing, reason why what drew me to Atlanta Braves was I had the same PE teacher all 4 years in high school. And he was a scout for the Braves, Stu Can, absolutely amazing guy and great PE coach. And he used to tell us stories all the time about, a lot of the Atlanta players and stuff. So it really drew me in. And then when we moved in here, it's like, I'm just about as big as I'm as big of a Braves fan as I am a Cubs fan.
Literally the exact same thing for me. I grew up, my whole family was raised Red Sox fans, so I still have love for the Red Sox. But when I'm 6 years old and I moved to North Carolina, I'm not getting to watch any Red Sox games anymore. But I definitely was able to watch Braves games. So I made one phone call to my uncle to make sure it was okay to root for the Braves. He assured me it was fine. They came from Boston, so everything was good, and the rest is history.
And we'll get into this in later shows, but people really don't realize what a legendary franchise the Atlanta Braves are. They're the longest continually operating franchise in the history of the league. People don't know that, and there's a lot of stuff that we're going to, kind of inform you about. And I think that's another thing about our show, like who can listen to our show, who should watch our show. Anybody should watch, but, maybe you're not that big into sports. But maybe you keep getting kind of bullied and picked on at the water cooler. Well, you can kind of tune into us and kind of pick up on enough to sound like you know what you're talking about. Or maybe, you're kind of – the world is busy these days. The world is a lot busier than it used to be. So instead of surfing around to all these different sites, and then don't go to ESPN because ESPN hates us. That's another reason why we started this. We're going to let's become the ESPN of the South and give our Braves some love because, we're going to get into this in a second. We're talking about some trades that happened. And Jeff Passan was saying, how come people don't talk about Atlanta like when they talk about the Astros or the Mets or the New York Yankees? And I don't know the answer to that. I wish I knew the answer to that.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories, but it's very obvious. And even more so as the years go by. Every year, it's funny. I always go to the one time that the Hawks played a great game against the LeBron-led Cavs, beat the LeBron-led Cavs, and ESPN led off with nothing but LeBron highlights and then showed the score and didn't say anything about who won the game.
Don't get me started on LeBron.
Fair enough, but I'm just saying there's something out there about Georgia specifically, because you go down to Alabama, it's fine when you want to talk about the Crimson Tide, but when you want to talk about the Georgia Bulldogs, for some reason, there's some sort of animosity, some sort of hate towards the state.
I'm telling you, we can get into that too. I lived in Alabama for a while, and one reason why. Now, Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach that has ever walked the face of the planet. Sure. There's no argument. If you say otherwise, you just need a slap in the face. But there's a lot of people in Alabama, I'm sorry, or maybe I'm not sorry. That's all they have. You couldn't go anywhere in Alabama. I lived in Muscle Shoals, which is North Alabama, and if you went to the gas station and you paid in cash and got change, the attendant was like, $2.85, roll tide. You know, you went to a drive-through at McDonald's or wherever. There was a lot of Subways there. Like Muscle Shoals, Alabama is very historic for music, but it was also like a giant truck stop. It was just a bunch of fast food restaurants and gas stations on this big long strip. But that's beside the point. You know, you got your Big Mac and your Coke, and it's like, here's your order, sir, Roll Tide. And then every once in a while, you'd hear some guy in the back go, "War damn eagle," you know, and that
You didn't develop a twitch.
I do. It's, you know, and there's people like, let's just be fair. There's people like that in Georgia too that are like that. Like that's all they have. I love my sports, but it's not all I have in my life.
Well, we also have
it.
pro teams. We have pro teams. So
Yeah. But I'll tell you one thing. Like, I think one reason when I was hooked in, not just because of the sport of baseball, but maybe just the city or anything Atlanta is. When I was a little kid, we're on our third stadium here in Atlanta now in my lifetime, which is crazy to think. But I went to my first Braves game. I was 6 or 7 years old, maybe, at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. And there was a guy there drinking beer out of a plastic cup, smoking a cigarette, big old, you know, mop of tousled hair.
Back in the day.
Levi's jeans, barefoot, and no shirt. Having a blast, having a one-man party. He was by himself, just, you know, who do you think it was? It was Ted Turner, the owner of the Braves at the time, and TBS, the Superstation. And I was like, well, if that's not George, I don't, you know what I mean? It was just crazy. Like, it was him. Like, it was totally Ted Turner.
no wonder you're a diehard. That
know.
took me
That's
for
pretty
life.
cool.
He got drunk and managed the game one time too. I want to. It may have been Russ Nixon, but I think he fired the manager and went down into the dugout. And I mean, Ted Turner's a card, man. I wish he had never sold the team. I mean, Liberty Media is doing a great job now.
Now
They were not, and we I don't know how much time we have. We got a guy off camera that can tell us how much time we have left. Oh man, we got some time. So
13.
yeah, this is the first episode, guys. We're kind of shooting from the hip, just kind of, you know, tossing it around. But so Ted Turner, his dad owned a billboard company here in Atlanta, and he bought TBS and kind of turned it into the media giant that it was. But Ted Turner, maybe you don't know, he won the America's Cup. That's like the biggest thing in sailing you could ever. He won that, and he was half crocked the whole time. You know,
That's what you're supposed to do when you're boating.
yeah, you know, guy, he's married to Jane Fonda. So, yeah, just a great owner. But I'm so glad that Liberty Media has finally woken up. And I think because we got kind of lucky, I guess. I don't think they were really doing anything to help. But we got a guy like Brian Snicker, who's been in the organization for 40 years. You know, he kind of got his shot to coach. And
What a great ambassador for baseball, too.
you know, since we're just kind of batting the ball around, this is really one thing that I'm gonna look dead in this camera and look at you, Braves fans. One thing you got to stop doing is stop managing the team, because your role is as a fan. You're the 10th guy, the 10th man. I heard so many people say last year that Brian Snicker sucks. He's a terrible manager, and they're all over Facebook and everything. I'm like, you ask anybody in Major League Baseball about Brian Snicker, and they go, class act, great baseball man. And he just won a World Series. So,
and
you know,
people still want to list the top 5 people that they want to replace him. Why?
no one. We don't, you know, and that's I tweeted this out the other day. I said Brian Snicker is kind of in position now to supplant a certain legendary Braves coach as the greatest Braves manager of all time, because we're set up, and this is going to lead into something you got. We're set up to win for a very long time, and Snicker, he's a great baseball guy, he's a great coach, but he also had a Freddie Freeman, and then we made a trade for Dansby Swanson, and then Ronald Acuna breaks on the scene, and Ozzie Albies breaks on the scene, and Austin Riley, you know, so it was kind of this whirlwind. We got a Max Fried in the Padres trade, so it was kind of a perfect storm of talent, and Anthopoulos comes, and so then, you know, Liberty sees this, and they go, well, it's not just a tax shelter. It's not just a write-off. We can actually make some money at this. Man, I was looking at games last night to try to go towards the end of the season with some friends. It's sold out. The Braves are selling out every game.
We end with the Mets, don't we?
Yeah, the last 3 games,
Yeah.
that's a big series. But even like the Marlins and the Phillies, like there's a smattering of seats around. And we have the Battery. So it's glad that, I mean, do you think 10 years ago, 5 years, even 3 years ago, Austin Riley would have signed for how much? How much did he just sign for, Mark?
212 million.
212, 220, something like that. Yeah.
You think that would have happened a few years ago with Liberty Media? I can tell you.
No, 100%. 100% not. And it wouldn't have happened without Alex Anthopoulos either, because
Oh man, they should make him the mayor of Atlanta.
I'm not sure what's going on. I made a joke a long time ago about Danny Ferry trading Joe Johnson and how he must have gone to Hogwarts because you needed a magician to trade that contract away. Well, I think Alex Anthopoulos might have been one of his classmates, because the way he's signing our talent, it's incredible.
I mean, is he Hufflepuff or is he Slytherin? What's Alex Anthopoulos? Is he Gryffindor? I don't know. You're the Harry Potter guy. I like it too, but you're more so.
I'm just gonna say the way we're getting this money down on all these stud players compared to the market average, he's probably Slytherin.
Yeah.
And hey, Robert, I wanted to touch on something. You made a comment about how when Snick came in that he had like the right pool of players and stuff like that, which is definitely a good point. But another point too is, I mean, you look at the Yankees, you look at the Astros, and I mean, hell, the Dodgers. They all have great players. But if you don't have the right, fish rots at the head, and if you don't have the right person to put that talent and get them to believe and fight for you, I mean, how many times? I mean, not just baseball, football, basketball. I mean, LeBron and the teams he puts together, and Kevin Durant. If you don't have the right chemistry, it doesn't matter how good you are. And that's the thing that I think where Snit really, he just is great with the chemistry and with those players.
Those players would eat broken glass for him. And that's another thing I think your typical, not just Atlanta sports fan, but typical sports fan doesn't realize is that winning is hard. It is hard to win a championship. And those players would eat broken glass for him, man. But I do have to say something really quick. As much as AA is great and all these guys, there is a guy who we need to give a tip of the cap to, because it's really a lot of the work that he did. Unfortunately, he was really naughty and he got banned from baseball, but it's John Coppolella. Coppy did a lot of the legwork that you're seeing now, and he does deserve some credit. Unfortunately, he got a little crazy with that international pool money and some other stuff. And now he lives in Orlando now, and he's out of baseball forever. He can never come back. I guess maybe him and Pete Rose probably hang out and play shuffleboard on the weekends or something.
Do autograph signings together.
Yeah. But
we're insanely lucky that Anthopoulos is who we got.
I just want to lock him up. I mean, because I'm
like literally in a tower somewhere with a computer and endless Wi-Fi. I
mean, he's raising a family here. But it's one of those things to where it seems like it's hard to keep the band together, especially in college football. It always seems like that. We could talk about Shanahan with the Falcons. He goes to the NFC Championship, goes to a Super Bowl. We'll get on that. That's a story for another time. It's still sensitive.
4 podcasts in a row.
But he went on and got a head coaching job. It's hard to keep people together and really build this nucleus and like, hey, let's keep this thing together. Now, there's interchangeable parts and you can move people around, but a lot of people do jump ship. I don't think he will. I mean, it seems like he's perfectly happy here, but I just hope that because there's always another team. You don't think Alex Anthopoulos' phone rings from other clubs? Of course it does.
Sure.
And is somebody going to give him a Brinks truck because he sees what he just did in Atlanta? But it's another thing, too. I think the Braves are just so underappreciated. I'm 44 years old, and the Braves have been good most of my life. I remember the 80s, and they were just terrible. But I don't think people realize how blessed we are. And they all point to the fucking hardware. Well, what have they done? Well, and we can have this debate again, too. They won a title in Boston. They won a title in Milwaukee. They've won 2 here now. And somebody out there is going, well, does it count? It does count because it's the same organization. Those titles come with you. Like, they didn't not win it. They can still claim it. It's just we moved cities. What do you want to do?
Sure. It just didn't happen in Atlanta.
Yeah. So, and we went, 90? Started winning, 91, 92, 93, and on and on and on. And then we had a few down years, some lean years with Freddie Gonzalez. But then right back on the horse. So Braves fans are a little spoiled, I think. I think they forget how great of a club we are and how great of a club we've been because we, just like in our intro joke, they'd like to throw that word around a lot, and I don't think people really know what that means. People say the Braves choked in that first World Series versus Minnesota. Like, how? If I'm not mistaken, my memory's a little fuzzy, but didn't we go to extra innings in Game 7? Didn't Kirby Puckett hit a home run in the 10th off Charlie Liebrandt, or was it at least the bottom of the 9th?
Is that what you call a choke?
Yeah.
Some people do say that.
People are lazy.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous that they do that.
And so often fans just get so cynical. You know what I mean? It's like if you don't win it all, you suck.
Right.
You know
if
what
you're
I mean?
not
If you
first
don't
or
win
last.
yeah, exactly. And it's something I've definitely experienced. Here in Atlanta. You talk about Braves fans are spoiled. I'm from Chicago. I was a Cubs fan. Okay, until 2016, being a Cubs fan sucked for so many years. We never won anything. Braves win division titles and so many in a row, and just keeping that hope alive, and just, man, we're so close. Man, that's exciting. That's exciting sports right there.
There were literally people living in Chicago that the only reason they were waking up was maybe this is the year, and if the Cubs win, I'm going to die in my sleep tonight. I'm 97, it was 100 years or 99?
108 years.
So a long time. And I just think, look, there's some great, I don't want to say I'm a great Atlanta sports fan, because I've definitely, I've had my moments, but I just think there's people out there, fans out there, that focus on the negative. And that's what we're here to do, to hopefully do, is to kind of turn that around and say, man, think about the fact that the Atlanta Braves have done something that no other sports franchise ever in the history of the planet has done ever. Not in the NHL, the NFL, anywhere. They won 14 division titles consecutively. No one's ever, the Yankees have never done it. The Lakers, Chicago Bulls, no one except Atlanta has won 14 division titles in professional sports. That's something to hang your hat on. That's something to be proud of.
100%. I was actually, Dean Pease was interviewed the other day, and he got a little excited about some questions that they were asking him, but he basically went down the path of he's really tired of the way the defense is looked upon, and how you don't tell a kid that they're stupid, because they'll eventually start to believe that they're stupid, right? So he was relating that to the way the media and everybody reacts to our defense. But I kind of think that happens to our sports teams. The national media tells you all that we suck and that we're stupid, and you start to believe it. Our show is the opposite of that. We are going to give it to you from the fan perspective, so that you're not getting the abusive ESPNs or the people that have some sort of agenda. Our agenda is Atlanta sports. We can talk about everything, but we come from a place of positivity. If something's really, really bad's happening, we're going to tell you that, but we're not going to constantly hit you with the negativity about things going on.
Well, one of the things I think feeds into that a lot too is we all know Atlanta is a melting pot. I mean, heck, I'm from Chicago. You're from Connecticut. There's so many people. I remember when I first moved here in 2000, like, I hardly ran into anybody who was from here. It's like so many people are from other places. So with that being said, there's so many people that are totally okay with ragging on Atlanta sports. Last year, I heard so much negativity about the Braves and UGA. Can you tell me what happened last year with those two teams?
I can.
I mean, seriously, I'm not a UGA fan.
With a giant smile on my face, we can talk about it all day.
I'm not a UGA fan, but I mean, seriously, I can't tell you how many. Oh, they're gonna choke. Oh, it's Atlanta sports, because the Falcons did it, and oh gosh, be positive,
But let's
support your team,
Really simply put, the Dogs lose to Alabama, the Dogs choke. The Dogs beat Alabama, their top two wide receivers were hurt. Let's just put it in perspective.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. It's just funny how that stuff works.
Yeah, people call me a unicorn because my birth certificate says Atlanta, Georgia on it. So, but I tell you, I got a message for some of these people too. Like, you don't have to give up your hometown. You don't have to stop rooting for your hometown team. But if you're going to be here and you're going to live here, like, if you can't, kind of get with the program a little, because a lot of these transplants I hear, like, well, the weather, the traffic, the people, the food, they don't have this, they don't have. Well, Delta's ready when you are, dude. The nonstop flights daily. If you don't like it that much, then get the hell out. But one thing that I want to try to do is if, like, you grew up in Chicago, the Cubs sucked for a long time, but the stadium was sold out. There were people on Waveland Avenue. It was a party. I mean, so the Cubs had things like the Battery long before anybody else did. They had Wrigleyville. There's just a ton of bars and just a ton of people are like, well, the Cubs. People would call out sick to work well, the Cubs are playing. I mean, we got to go to Wrigleyville and drink and have fun. And the Bears. I remember a few years ago they had this ultimate sports weekend for Atlanta fans up in Chicago. It was Bears Falcons. UGA was playing Notre Dame over in Notre Dame, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from Chicago. And then Vince Dooley was throwing out the first pitch. It was Cubs Brewers, but and it was great. But everybody and the Bears were bad. The Bears weren't that good that year. This was what 2017, I think.
20 almost anything.
I don't like talking about this.
So I tried to get you to go. I asked you a few times.
Stupid work.
I went, but long story short, the Bears were bad. But we get over to Soldier Field, sell out. The only thing that was weird about that stadium is I felt like I was watching a football game on the edge of a cliff because we had cheap seats, and you could see all the sailboats out on Lake Michigan. I mean, it was a little. I mean, it's crazy that stadium, but
you know what the thing is, what it all boils down to. So it's all about the culture. I mean, you talked about how the Cubs sucked for so long, but they were always sold out. Same thing with the Red Sox. Remember, they had the curse, and they sucked for so long, right? But they always, they're diehard fans. It's all about culture. We need to get that culture here in Atlanta because, good Lord, we got some great teams. We got this. My gosh, Georgia, Atlanta. When I said I moved here and I haven't looked back, I'm not kidding. I love this place. I love everything. Being from Chicago, I never watched hockey. I went to my first hockey match. A buddy of mine, I used to be a police officer, a buddy of mine, Gene, a big hockey fan. We went to watch Thrashers. So I was a Thrashers fan, never been a Blackhawks fan. And then the damn team up and moved. But it's just there's so many great sports. It's such a great area. And there needs to be something done to just start changing the culture, in my opinion, because we change that culture and get people just – loving the team and you lost, but hey, you gave it your best shot. Man, it'd be so much more enjoyable and just so much more positive.
Look what happened with the United, though. You drop a brand new sports franchise in a town where even people from out of town are like, well, this just happened while I'm here. Mm-hmm. I can be a fan of this.
Yeah,
they might not be from Pittsburgh, but I was here when it happened. So, and they sell out all the time, and it's apparently I still have yet to go, so I feel terrible about that. But apparently, it is just the greatest time.
That's what I've heard.
So we have the ability to do it. It just isn't happening for our other franchises.
Atlanta fans have been tied to the whipping post for so long to always expect. It's kind of like Randy Quaid in Major League 2, like, they'll blow it in the playoffs. Just always to expect that something's going to go wrong because people talk about an Atlanta sports curse, and I think it was very real, but that's over. Kirby Smart is entrenched at Georgia. He just signed it. He just secured his bag, as you said. He's got a monster deal. Georgia's burned the boats. The monkey's off their back. They're set up to win. Atlanta's set up to win. Jury's still out on the Falcons. The Hawks are making moves. They're going to be really fun to watch this year. But I think, there are people like us that are diehard, rah-rah, fans. But I do think the boo birds and the negative people are what comes to the forefront in Atlanta, and we're known.
We want them to listen. We want to change you.
Yeah. So there's a lot to be proud about being an Atlanta sports fan, and that's what basically we got to wrap it up here or run out of time. But that's what we're basically saying is who we are, what we're about is tune into us because we're homers. We're going to be homers, and we want to change that culture here in Atlanta, and we want people when the Braves. Eventually, the worm turns for every franchise. There's ups and downs. And when the downs happen again, for all you people that I was just talking about, that every game is sold out, when that happens, still go out and support the team. Because it's just fun going to a ball game. Whether they're, hey, you know what? If they're losing, you just get drunk in the bleachers and have fun and yell at the umps. It's just still a great time.
Are you only supposed to do that when they're losing?
No, you can do it when it's more. It's a lot more fun when they win. But
I've been doing it wrong.
So that's what we're saying, and you can find us. We have a YouTube channel, Bleav in Atlanta Sports. We're going to be on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, Stitcher, Tuned In, a whole laundry list. You can go to Bleav.com. That's BLEAV, and find our show there. And you can follow us on Twitter. We're at Bleav in ATL66. And everybody might go, what's the 66 for? Well, 66 is when the Braves and the Falcons both arrived in Atlanta. kind of put us on the map professionally. And we'll be tossing out some more information. But one thing I do want to say as we close out is we have an email address too. It's Bleav ATL66. We want you guys to interact with us because this show is for you. Right now, we're not making a dime. Tim is so gracious right now to help us get this thing off the ground. He's helping us out and giving us a great studio to work in. We're going to eventually somehow going to have to start paying him. But we want to build this show for you. We want to know what you love about it, what you hate about it, because we do think there is room and it is time for a change in Atlanta as far as the fan base is concerned, but also in how you get your news. So with that being said, I just, thank you to Bleav. Thank you to Mesmereyes Studios. Thank you to Atlanta for tuning in. We know you're going to tune in and watch this first one. But with that, we got to get out of here, but we're going to be coming at you 3 times a week with all kind of sports news. Tim's got one more thing here as we walk out the door.
I just wanted to point out because you said you have email, they can email you, and you said Bleav Atlanta66, but you didn't say at. So
yeah.
It's a full.
Bleav ATL66@gmail.com.
There you go.
Hit us up. We're going to go live some nights. Mark may be at home and he can't sleep, and he might hop on YouTube if he has a quick thought. Jump on with him there. Interact with us on Twitter. We're going to be interacting with you. And we have big plans for this thing. This is just the first episode, and we're going to be here in your face constantly. We're not going to do any of this hot take BS.
Did you just greenlight toilet time with the commish?
Yes, we'll do that too.
Okay, cool.
Oh, man, we have a great thing too called the swirly section. It's so awesome. But with that, we've got to go. But thank you, Bleav. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Atlanta. And we will see you next time. We are out.
Peace.
Do you believe?